Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to speak to this Congress about a single but significant object that is not only a source of great pride for Uzbeks, but an important testament to the rich and interrelated culture of post-Mongol Iran, Central Asia, and China, and to its appeal in later periods. The so-called Ulugh-Beg Cup is housed at the British Museum in London and will feature prominently in the museum's new Al-Bukhari Foundation Galleries of the Islamic World, which are currently under preparation to open in October 2018. So we hope you will visit us then. In 1959, the British Museum acquired an important nephrite jade cup carved in Arabic script with the name of Ulugh-Beg Kuragan, the Timurid prince who governed Samarkand in the early 1400s or 1800s AH, until his death in 1447 of the Common Era, or the Hijri year 850, and grandson of the great Timur himself. Of course, I don't really need to introduce Ulugh-Beg to this audience. The cup measures 7.3 centimeters in height, with a width of 19.5 centimeters and a depth of 12.4 centimeters. Along with the carved inscription, its most distinctive feature is a handle composed of a figure identified as a chi, or a Chinese hornless dragon. A second inscription, engraved onto a silver repair covering a crack in the rim opposite the handle, extols God's generosity in Ottoman Turkish. At the time of acquisition, the object was introduced to the trustees of the British Museum as a, quote, Chinese carved jade cup, 15th century, and, quote, carved with a handle in the form of a tiger. The object was said to be one of the few jade carvings that can be dated with certainty to the Ming period. Its purchase was approved at £50. The provenance of this cup has long been the subject of debate. Although jade is commonly associated with China, evidence exists, of course, of jade carving in Central Asia, where the primary source for jade was the Kunlun Mountains near Khotan. And records demonstrate that gifts produced in this area and destined for the Chinese court included carved jade from as early as the 10th century before the Common Era until the 9th century of the Common Era. And by the time of Al-Biruni, was writing in the 10th century, the stone was associated with Turks in Central Asia. It must be noted, however, that jade gifts were also sent from China to this region, as Chinese annals mention jade vessels that were sent to Ulugh-Beg by the Ming Emperor in 1445. While remembered widely for his achievements and patronage in the fields of mathematics and astronomy, Ulugh-Beg was also known for his passion for jade, and most carved jades associated with the Timurids are linked to his reign in Samarkand, which was situated on a major trade route to China. While the acquisition proposal by Mr. Jennings, who wrote the proposal you saw in the last slide, claimed that the cup could be dated with certainty to Ming China, arguments for a Chinese origin stem from a largely formal comparison of the object's shape to a cheng or water reservoir. In contrast, other scholars believe the cup could have easily been produced at a local jade carving workshop in Central Asia, perhaps even in Samarkand, in imitation of or inspired by a Chinese prototype. Of course, this is also supported by a formal observation. The less refined carving of the dragon, which you can see the bottom of the cup on the slide to the left, which suggests that the object may have been produced at a local provincial center rather than being carved or produced at a Chinese court. And yet still this is with the support of the aforementioned evidence about the jade industry in Central Asia and the gift exchanges between China and this region. Although jade was in wide circulation by the Timurid period, there are only 3 known jade drinking vessels inscribed with Ulugh-Beg's name. The other 2 are at the Bharat Kala Bhavan in Banaras Hindu University in Varanasi, India, which is green jade with dragon handles, and a light green vessel that's at the Calouste Gulbenkian Museum in Lisbon, Portugal. These vessels simultaneously support what we know of Ulugh-Beg's appreciation for jade and the possible production place of Central Asia, and add to their value as historical material. The inscription on the British cup Ulugh-Beg Kuragan, further emphasizes the Timurid prince's close connection to his grandfather, who also carried the honorific title of Kuragan, or son-in-law. This came from a Timurid practice of marrying into the Chingizid line, marrying Chingizid princesses in order to claim a legitimate genealogy to the great Mongol Chinggis Khan himself. As the governor of Samarkand, Ulugh-Beg had also inherited his grandfather's capital, which meant that he most likely inherited some of the craftsmen that had been displaced by Timur as he took them from their places of origin and brought them to Samarkand. Some of these Ulugh-Beg even sent back, like to Syria, and others must have stayed and contributed to the very metropolitan style. The prince also sealed his admiration for Timur in 1425 by commissioning a large block of black jade from Transoxiana to be carved and placed over Timur's grave in Samarkand. While the Ulugh-Beg inscription and the cultural history of jade in Timurid Central Asia contribute to the significance of the British Museum Cup at the time and place it was made, other factors emphasize a cultural legacy that extends beyond boundaries of time and space, and this is what makes an object like the Ulugh-Beg Cup interesting for curators and for museums. In the first place, the use of jade, the knowledge of its production and practice in China, and the addition of a Chinese dragon motif all testify to the robust cultural transmission of ideas, motifs, and materials between the Far East and Iran and Central Asia during the post-Mongol period. Of course, this exchange far predated this time, but it's then where you see this large flow going back and forth. Moving beyond this time period, however, it should come as no surprise that the Mughals of India, who were descended from the Timurids and who still consider themselves Timurids, would similarly value jade, and that objects inscribed with the name of Mughal rulers should also exist and perpetuate the long-lasting aesthetic effects of East-West cultural transmission between China and Iran. Two such examples were bequeathed to the British Museum in 1945. Finally, we know that the British Museum Jade Cup traveled some distance, as its Ottoman repair attests. The most recent translation of this inscription reads, "The generosity of God is infinite." So it says, "Karame haqqa nihayat yukdur." But I welcome anyone who's a specialist in Ottoman language. If you have any other thoughts to please share them with me. While I doubt we can ever firmly offer a place of origin for the Ulugh-Beg Jade Cup, what is certain is this object's fascinating biography, which includes travel over time and place from the Timurid to the Ottoman empires and to its current resting place in London, where it serves as a visual testament to the cultural legacy of the Timurids and of Uzbekistan. It may not live in Uzbekistan today, but its travels show its immeasurable value, translated to other cultural contexts through their courts and cultural institutions. As if Uzbeks and all of us attending this Congress needed more confirmation, now here is a lasting cultural legacy, one not only for the Uzbeks, but also for the world. Thank you.